A year ago this month, I received my diagnosis. I am today an artist living with bipolar 2. When I began to write for this show, I kept asking myself, was I bipolar because I was an artist, or was I an artist because I was bipolar? For me, these aren't just correlated, they're the exact same thing. My disorder is my art. It fuels it, it becomes it, it nurtures it in my afternoon highs and exploits it in my midnight lows. My art is my outlet. It's what I use to understand myself and all that I feel. It's how I communicate, it's how I express myself, but it's also fuel to my emotional fire. It's dangerous. It can bring clarity in my mind, or I can be lost at sea with it and it pulls me underwater. I believe that by being an artist, I have a moral obligation to make people feel and understand things that they either could not or did not before. Being an artist is being gifted with the ability to force others to feel these things. Being a bipolar artist, it is so easy to get caught in this crossfire. Living as an artist with bipolar disorder is constantly deciding how much I can allow myself to feel. Do I work myself harder? Do I make myself busier? Do I pick up that extra shift at work? Do I sacrifice that hour of sleep? Do I indulge myself again? Do I let myself make another piece of art today? Do I go out again with that one guy from the bar? Do I sleep over at his house? Do I let the stimulus push me higher and higher in my mania, knowing that when I do finally stop, that I will fall faster and harder, this time downward into my depression? And that's just the mania. That's not what comes when the depression sets in. How many times can I listen to that sad song on repeat? For how long can I tell myself that I'm okay when I'm not? How much do I let what they say to me get to me this time? Are my insecurities stronger than I am? How long do I let myself sleep in? Do I go out again with that guy from the bar? Do I sleep over at his house again? Do I let him get away with what he did to me? And how long do I try to convince myself that I still don't love him? Being bipolar, I'm constantly deciding how much I can allow myself to feel today for my art or otherwise, knowing that one step too far might be the one that doesn't get me through the night, and it might be the one that makes that test come back positive this time. The day my mom died 8 years ago, everything that happened before seemed to become just a memory. It became sealed in a pretty, picture-perfect scrapbook that can never be anything more than something I might break out when the trauma finally sets in and forces me to feel harder. You see, that's the thing about trauma. It's nothing like adversity. Adversity is saying, I'm going to climb this hill. I know it's going to be tough, and through grace and struggle, I will make it out on the other side and continue down this path that I'm on. Trauma doesn't work like that. Trauma breaks you. It fragments your personhood. Trauma is saying you are not you anymore. You are someone else now. You're not going down this path anymore. You're going down this one, and you can't turn back, and you can't change this. Trauma is terrifying, and trauma changed my path. I would go from being an excellent student who would always struggle with making his emotional needs meet halfway with his academic ones. I would go from being the one who was friends with everyone to the one who at many times wouldn't have any. I would continue to experience the fault lines shown through my fragmentation. I would learn to love broken. I would be broken by that same love. I would experience more loss. My aunt, my uncle, my grandma, my best friend, the first love of my life, the worst love of my life, my own love. I would come to lose all of them, and my trauma would still be there saying, this is your path now. You can't turn back and you can't change this. I want to read you something now from George Bernard Shaw. He writes, "This is the true joy in life, the being used for a purpose recognized by yourself as a mighty one, the being a force of nature instead of a feverish, selfish clod of ailments and grievances, complaining that the world will not devote itself to making you happy, the being thoroughly worn out before you are thrown onto the scrap heap. I've changed, irrevocably, permanently. My soul is richer and my heart is fuller in brokenness than it ever was without. I've learned true despair, and that has made me learn to appreciate the true joy. Today I stand here worn out. I'm tired, but I'm grateful. My trauma is ultimately what brought me here today and is what molded me to who I am. My disorder was the gift that made the struggle make sense. Receiving my diagnosis felt like getting a gift from a distant relative that I didn't know that well. It felt nice to be thought of by someone. I was grateful, and I really didn't want it. I would find, though, whether I knew them or not, they knew me. Sure, it was tacky, and for quite some time it sat on a dusty shelf untouched and unopened. But one day I did open it. Receiving my diagnosis gave me the tools to understand myself and my trauma, and it came with a little handwritten note that said this: I know you're scared. I feel it too. I know what they've told you all these years, but know that they were wrong. You aren't crazy. You didn't need to change, they did. You didn't deserve what they gave you, and they definitely didn't deserve you. This is you now, but this you is enough. You survived what happened, and they couldn't. We're going to do this together, and from here on out, we are going to do this together. You don't understand right now, but someday you will. It won't be easy, but it won't always be as hard as you thought it would be. Don't be afraid to feel. Don't be afraid to love. Guide it and hold its hand, because it needs you just as much as you need it. Thank you.